Hey everybody, I want to welcome you to the January Plane Talk, the Graves Golf Academy January Plane Talk. I want to welcome you to the first Plane Talk of 2023. So I want to thank you guys for being part of this Plane Talk and being part of our instruction. And I'm going to welcome you guys in and say Happy New Year to you guys. My name is Tim Graves. I'm co-founder of the Graves Golf Academy. I always like to do a little introduction first on the Plane Talks because I know there's a lot of new people that come on here. But Todd and I founded this company almost 23 years ago now. And teach the Mo Norman swing across I would say the United States or across the world, and present his methodology and his swing, a single plane swing to everybody and anybody we can. So again, I want to welcome you guys to tonight, and we'll have a whole lot of fun for this next hour. Tonight's schedule is basically going to be it's really part two of the Advantage Me, Advantage You. And I started that in the last Plane Talk last month. Basically, things that you guys can set up over the winter, or that we can help you guys set up over the winter, that will really give you an advantage to your game when you come out in the spring. Start playing golf and so on. And I know, yes, I do know a lot of you guys get to play over the winter, or you guys are in climates you kind of hit and miss, you get to play on and off. But golf is limited this time of year, so it always gives us a little bit more time to do work inside and things like that. Okay, so we like to be able to present things to you guys that you can actually really train on over the winter, that you're ahead of the game when you come out in the spring. I always like to refer to this. It's a new year, so I'll refer to it right now. The biggest thing that we do at Graves Golf, and this is what our livelihood's all about. This is what our lives are about, with you guys, is we believe and we know and we have proven this, and many other people have actually proven this also, that only a small percentage of golfers who actually play this game or practice this game actually improve. And if you want to talk about some numbers, it's really about 10%. About 10% of golfers actually sit there and say, I'm going to go practice, or I want to improve in this game, actually show improvement. Okay, 90% of golfers either do not get better when they practice, or actually can make themselves worse when they practice. We've talked about this a lot in the past. But our entire focus in Graves Golf is to get you guys in that 10% group and to keep you guys in that 10% group. So anytime you're practicing, anytime you're going out into, whether it's indoor, whether it's outdoor, anytime, you're always got a little bit of improvement going on. And that's the key to what we do, okay? And I really stress that. I know a lot of you guys have heard that before, and we talk about that a lot. But I really stress that because, everything we do with Graves Golf, when we're sitting there in our meetings with our coaches or our staff or executive meetings or whatever you talk means, that's always the premise that this company is based on. We're always trying to sit there and say, okay, how can we get more people in that 10% group? How can we keep you in that 10% group? How can we get the instruction out to you better? How can we get out there easier? How can we get it more convenient for you guys? How can we get more hands-on with you guys? Even if you're at a distance, we're doing video lessons with you guys or live lessons with you. The things that we've actually set up in just the past year are knock your socks off amazing. Last night I sat in the same studio. This is exactly 24 hours ago right now. Thomas and I sat in the same studio, and we did the AAI Masterclass, Alert Attitude of Indifference Mental Game Masterclass. And we had a live Zoom session with Paul Monahan. He was the guest speaker on this. And we had literally 60, 70 people on there in a live Zoom session. I'm looking at Thomas over here to make sure I'm saying this right. A live Zoom session. And we had an hour and about an hour and a half conversation that was just amazing, going back and forth on just, on the AAI, what we call it the AAI Big Ten, the mental game part of what we're working on, with Graves Golf. It was unbelievable. And I couldn't have dreamed of doing that 2-3 years ago. Wouldn't even dreamed of that. And now we're doing that. And it's normal for us. So it's guys, it's amazing the stuff, and I'll give my staff all the credit for this. It's amazing the stuff that we've put into effect in the past couple of years. And it's all set up, literally. It's all set up to get you guys to have continual improvement with the single plane swing, following Mo's methodology. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Okay? And that's what tonight's going to be about. And that's really the highlighted topic tonight is, as part two of the Advantage Me, Advantage You. Because, I say Advantage Me, Advantage You because I've written a lot of articles on that about Advantage Me because, guys, everything I do, everything I gear around is trying to give me an advantage when I get out on that golf course to go play. I don't care if I'm playing by myself. I don't care if I'm playing with a group. I don't care if I'm playing in a tournament. I don't care if I'm playing with my wife, whatever it is. If I'm out there playing, I want that advantage to be able to get the best of my ability and to be able to play the best today when I go on that golf course. Okay? I don't want any disadvantages out there. And that's why I call it Advantage Me. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go through basically the 7 principles of golf improvement. And really, there's 8 principles now, but it's really the core principles of what we say you guys need to follow to have a effective, good, or even better golf game. It's the backbone of what we teach in here is our 7 principles of golf improvement, okay? And I'm going to go through those tonight and put the advantage me, advantage you into those. That's what we're going to do tonight. So we'll go through them one at a time. We'll go step by step by step, and I'll explain it as we go through it and really discuss with you guys what you need to do, okay? Now, before we get started, though, and again, I'm going to give you guys a couple of amounts since they're actually really short tonight, but before we get started, there's one thing that you guys, and I'm going to stress this now, I'm going to stress it in the middle, I'm going to stress it later. If you're a guy out there right now or gal out there right now, and we haven't had communication with you, we don't know, we call it basically the steps to improvement or the steps to the mastery of the single plane swing. If we don't know where you are on your journey to better golf, there's basically very little we can do for you. You're out there getting our information, and I'm not going to say you're guessing, but you're taking your best guesstimate to say, okay, this is what I need to go do, and you go. Okay, guys, I guarantee you right now, there's very few organizations out there, very few, that have as many coaches and dedicated coaches like we have to help you guys individually. Okay, that's what we have. And literally, these guys are just dedicated deluxe to helping you all. But unless we can get where we have your information and we can sit there and say, okay, this is what step you're on. This is what we need to do next. This is what you need to do next. Because it may be as simple as something as like, you need to go watch this DVD, or something as you need to go watch this video we created. Or you may be something as you may want to look at this training aid, or maybe something as things like that. We need to be able to access you to sit there and say, what do you need to do next? Because if not, it's just a guessing game, okay? And we have established so much stuff out in our umbrella to help you guys. It's unbelievable. And here's what's interesting. We bring in people that from the outside, they can be golf professionals, just the public and the outside, and also they start seeing everything we have, and they look at it like it's almost overwhelming. We have so much information to give to you all to help you with your golf game, okay? So this is what you're going to do, and this is the first thing you got to do. And if you haven't done it yet, you're going to fill out what we call the STEPS questionnaire or the STEPS survey. And there's a link on the bottom of this page. There's a link on the bottom of this. I'm looking at Thomas again. There's a link on the bottom of this that you can go click on it and you can go fill it out. I think there's 7 or 8 questions on there. You'll fill it out and we'll have a coach respond to you and say, this is where you are. This is what we recommend you do next. And it'll just open up a line of communication with us. The other thing is, if you filled it out in the past and you haven't filled it out in 2, 3, 4 months, let's do it again. That's a continual deal. It's a continual deal. It basically shows what our step 1 is, because we have a very specific model of how to get better, and we have a model of how to get better faster, okay? And that's what this is going to show you. It's going to show you where you are in this model. It's going to show us where you are on this model, in our model. It's going to tell you what we need to get you guys to do next. And I promise you, this isn't an autoresponder. You send in and all of a sudden you get an autoresponder back like, go buy this. No, it's not that. A coach will take that and go through that questionnaire, every one of the questions on there, and say, okay, this gentleman looks like he's on step 2, maybe a little bit into step 3. This is what he probably needs to do next. Boom, 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 boom. Or this gentleman's in step 1, maybe a little bit in step 2, maybe a little step 5 added on there. This is what he needs to do next. That's what this is all about. And it gets you on file with us. And that is massive. Guys, all these are stored. So all you guys at home that fill out these STEPS questionnaires, I can go in right now in my database, I can pull it out and see the STEP questionnaire you filled out a month ago, 2 months ago, 5 months ago. I can go look at that. And that's awesome for us. Because then if we start opening up a line of communication, let's say you email us 3 months from now, you say, man, I'm having a really hard time with this and that. And I can go look at that STEPS questionnaire and go, oh, he's got this and this, he's done this, whatever. We can do that for you. That's how we can start getting this thing even more personalized for you guys. So if you have not filled it, the number one thing, and if this is all you get out of tonight, if you have not filled out the STEPS questionnaire, the STEPS survey, go fill it out and hit submit and send it in. Go do it. I cannot stress that enough. Because if you're just one of those what we call lurkers sitting out there that's just going to get our information and go try it on your own and just go sit there and just try it on your own, try it on your own, and again, not get help from our coach, what are you doing? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, well, let's get into tonight's topic. Basically, it's advantage me, advantage you, part 2. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to go through our 7 principles again. And as we go through these 7 principles, I want to talk about, really, to be honest with you, the number one issue that's a fault that we see in our students in that principle. okay? And you'll understand as we start going through it. And here's what it comes down to. That's all I can do standing on stage talking to you guys from a distance. That's all I can do. I can't sit here and say, your fault is this, and John's fault is this, and David's fault is this, and John needs to go work on this, and David, I can't do that. Because all I can do is see what we commonly see and what most people deal with in these situations, okay? Now, obviously, if you want the exact thing to work on, you send in a video to the coach. And so all you guys out there that have access to sending in our videos to our coach, which I know there's thousands of you guys, okay? I would literally, every one of these principles, I would say, okay, what video I need to send in to go figure out what to work on that one? What's the video I need to send in to figure out what to work on that? Because then you can break it down in our principles and say, I need to go work on this for the full swing. I need to work on this for my putting. I need to go work on this for my chipping. I need to go work on this for my exercise, whatever it is, okay? And you can break it down. And then you got a great roadmap to make it an advantage you to get better for that spring. Because now you've hyper-focused on the specific areas of the 7 principles, okay? So the very first principle is develop a sound, repeatable, powerful swing of ease, obviously modeling Mo Norman in the single plane. Okay, so basically, principle number 1 is we want to develop a sound, repeatable, powerful swing of ease, modeling Mo Norman single plane. Obviously, that's the basis of our company. Okay, so if you said that right now and you said, okay, Tim, that's great, and that's something you read in a textbook, but what do I need to work on to help develop that sound, repeatable swing of ease? Well, first of all, I tell you guys, send in the video to the coach. They're going to tell you exactly what the number 1 thing you need to focus in on, okay? But I will tell you right now, if I had it lined up right now and I had 20 students sitting in front of me at a school, just like we typically do, we'll start that in like 2.5 weeks now. The number 1 thing we see after we've gone through the grip and the setup, which obviously the grip and the setup's always some issues we're going through, okay? The number 1 thing we see, the common fault we see, is the lack of movement, proper hip movement, okay? And I know for a lot of you guys out there, this is going to sound like a broken record, but here's what's interesting. Even when I work the alumni camps, I see these same issues again and again and again. So it's obviously something we need to work on continually, okay? So right now, in general speaking, this is what I need you guys to do, is I need you to set up the station, the position 0, which is our setup position, okay? We put a ball a few inches behind it. We go back, a single plane position, trainer length, and 1 foot in. Okay, so obviously I have position 0, position 1. Okay. Make sure I stay on the screen here. Okay. Now, I'm going to set up in position 0, and I'm going to go to position 1. Okay. Now, here's what I want you to hyper focus on, and I cannot stress this enough, is when you go from position 0 to position 1, this stick, this single plane position trainer stays against the pivot point on your lead side. It is touching that pivot point and it does not move off that pivot point. It does not rock across the chest. It does not come away from the chest. It does not go up or down. It stays on that exact point. So literally, you're sitting up here in position 0. I'm feeling this spot right here. And I go to position 1, it stayed on that exact spot right here. Because I will tell you right now, a high majority, I'm talking well over 70, 80%, when we see our students at the school, and guys, I'll tell you right now, 95% and 99% of the students that come to our school have tried this before. I mean, they try stuff at home, that's great. But this is what they do. They get up here and the thing rolls right across their belly because they're not moving their hips and shoulders properly, okay? And guys, the hips and the shoulders start the golf swing. That's how you go from position 0 to position 1. That is the core foundation of developing a sound, repeatable swing of ease. Now, obviously, we want to have a good grip on the club. Obviously, we want to have a good setup, okay? We want that. And yes, and people work on that, and we're constantly working on that. But no question about it, the number 1 fault we see is the lack of moving the hips and shoulders back properly when they're working on developing the sound, repeatable swing of ease. No doubt about it, okay? And I'll give you a down-the-line view here. So if I set up here down-the-line view, and I go from 0 to 1, when I go right here to 1, this is touching my pivot point. So all that is moved, shoulders and hips are moved. This elbow is starting to fold in slightly to go from 0 to 1, okay? And I'll tell you right now, if you just sat here and you worked on that position over the winter. Now, guys, maybe you do it perfect. Maybe you do it perfect. Maybe this is just a complete waste of time for you to work from 0 to 1 because you do it perfect. I don't know that. I would know it if you sent in a video, okay? But I will tell you right now, if you're that guy out there that isn't going to send in the videos, not going to talk to one of my coaches, isn't going to get a specific information from it, I will tell you right now, there's a high likelihood you need to work on that position and become very dedicated on hitting that position properly. Because if right now, if you go from 0 to 1 and you don't hit that position properly, the rest of this swing is now a compensation. So let's say right now I go 0 to 1 and I rolled it across the belly and I didn't move my hips enough. Now all of a sudden I try to go to 2. This club's in front of me. This club is steep. I'm going to be over the top. The hands are in front of me. Right now I have nowhere to go except over the top. If I try to drop it down on plane, I'll either block it or hook it. Okay? So guys, again, I'm going to say this again so it sounds like a broken record, but the number one error we see is improper going from position 0 to position 1, because you guys will know this. I'll sit there and I'll have my staff with me at a school. I'll sit there and say, guys, if right now I could hit position 1 perfect, what's the chance I get to 2, 3, 4 correct? They look at me and they go, 95, 98, 99%. Like literally, it's like a no-brainer getting it on plane if you can hit 1 correctly. That's how critical it is, okay? So let's go to principle number 2 of the 7 principles of golf. Develop an efficient short game, 50% up and down, okay? So basically, this is talking about the chipping and pitching. Now, we break it down more than 50%. And yes, guys, when you're talking about an efficient short game, scratch player, when they're chipping around the edge of a green, is going to be 75 to 80% up and down. When they're pitching, let's say 50, 40, 50 yards out, they're going to be 40, 50, 60% up and down. Up and down means get it on the green, 1 putt in, okay? And we break that down. And as you Single Plan Academy members there, you can look at the stat pages and see the breakdown of all that. So you know how to correlate your handicap, in relationship to where you want to get. But talk about the number one, room for error, the number one thing we see. And the number one thing we see with chipping is really 2 things, but they're put together, okay? And this is what we see. And I'm going to get a little shorter club here. I'll just take out a normal wedge. Okay. So I've got a wedge in my hand. And we put a chip in the back of our stance. We set up like we're going to hit a chip. Okay, so open, lower body's open, upper body's square. Ball's in the back, hands are leaning forward. Now I'm going to hit a chip. The number one thing we see, and it's in the majority of our students that we see for the first time, is as they get the face square and chipping, they rotate their hands to the right of the club. Okay? So right now, I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So right now, if I put a good grip on this club, and I held this club out in front of me, when that leading edge of this club is flat, my wrist is flat, matching that leading edge. Okay? You can almost call it like a box here. So when this leading edge of the club is flat, the back of this hand is flat. Okay. So what you don't see if I flip the hand out there is you don't see the toe up or the toe down when this edge is flat. So now all of a sudden I get up with a good chip. I got good hand position on here. I can hold it up and check it. There you go. Perfect. But this is what most golfers do. They get up and they rotate their hands to the right, and now they have a strong grip on the club. Okay? So now if I held my hand up in front of this, just here, and my wrist is flat, look at the toe of that club. It's straight up in the air. Okay? So no longer is that leading edge of that club lined up with the back of my hand, which is critical. Okay? That right now is basically 45 degrees closed. Well, when you rotate your hand strong, which is a majority of golfers we see for the first time, when you take this club back, you hood the toe down. So I'm gonna get a little zoom in on this. So when you take this club back, that toe right now is shut down. Can you see it? That's perfect. It's shut down. That toe, when it's getting towards waist high, should be right there, going towards toe up. Well, here's the problem. You chip with a strong grip, you get toe down. Now we start sticking the toe in the ground. We start pulling our chips. We start shaking our chips because they're rolling off the hosel. We start closing the face down. We have to make up for this non-matching club face to the back of the hand. Because if this club face, leading edge, matches the back of the hand, now all I got to do is get the back of the hand going towards the target. Which I'm not going to say simple, but it makes sense. Back of the hand towards the target. Back of the hand towards the target. Well, if my hands rotate strong, now all of a sudden I get the back hand toward the target, that face is completely shut down. In fact, we see it shut down so much, the ball rolls in off the club face, hits the hosel and shanks. Okay? And guys, and it's the majority of the students we see at the school for the first time will have a strong grip on the chipping. So when they're trying to develop an efficient short game, that strong grip, there's no way. Much less this time of year. You have a strong grip on a chip this time of year and you go out on those real tight lies, which is the majority of golf courses, you're going to chunk the crap out of them because you're going to stick the toe into the ground. You're slowly going to go chunk, chunk, it's a fat chunk. You're going to be sticking the toe in the ground, okay? So I can tell you right now, and this is going to solve a couple things, the number one thing I'd recommend for that is the Short Game Impact Trainer. And this thing right here is built deluxe to help you guys. That's why there is a training grip on this. The number one thing about this is a training grip. So as you choke down this club on this training, we set up square, the hands are now perfect. So this back of the hand's going towards the target and it matches perfectly with that leading edge of the club. That is massive. Okay? You can't mess this up. I cannot sit over and you can't do it because it's molded on there. You physically can't do that. And I'll tell you what will happen right now to a lot of you all. You're going to get over the Short Game Impact Trainer Club. You're going to start hitting some chips and they're going to go straight right. And I'll tell you why they're going to go straight right is because what you've done in the past is you've held on to the club, not letting that face roll over because your grip's so strong. And all of a sudden you're trying to chip inside, or you're chipping, in your backyard, or chipping whatever, down in your basement or whatever you're doing with wiffle balls, Nerf balls. You got a little target you're chipping at. And all of a sudden they're going right and they're going right and you're going, what the heck's going on? And you're like, this grip can't be on this club right. You don't know how many times we get a call saying the grip's on the club right. No, it's on there perfect. You've had such a strong grip that you've towed it down forever. Okay, so that's number one. Here's number two on this club. On the bottom of this club, it has a negative loft. Okay, so the bottom of it, the grooves go down, then it has a negative loft. That's why it's called a Perfect Impact Club, Perfect Impact Trainer. This club right now, if you do not hit down on the shot, you will thin it, you will basically top it, you will blade it. So this trains you to hit down on the shot. Well, let me give you a little secret. It's not a secret, it's just a fact. I have in our file, in our company, hundreds of thousands of club fitting forms. We've literally had hundreds of thousands, in fact, maybe close to 1 million by now, people fill out our club fitting form, okay? And on that, there's a question that says, do you take a divot? Do you take it? It says, describe your divot. And it says, hey, like a heavy divot, divot, minimal divot, no divot. Over 80% of those that have filled out the form have said minimal to no divot when they reply back. So when you see that as a professional, you're thinking to yourself, okay, they're not hitting down in the shot. I'm talking on full swing. They're not hitting down the shot. They're not making that compression with that ball. They're not creating that spin and lift in that ball. They're losing significant distance. They're losing significant solidness of impact. Losing solidness of impact, losing that spin. Now, I'm not talking just short game. I'm talking with your irons, with your hybrids, everything in your bag. You're losing that short of your driver, obviously, but you're losing tons and tons and tons of potential because you don't hit down on the ball, because you hit up on it. And that's 80% say they don't make enough divot or make no divot. This club right here trains you to make a divot. So if I did anything in the winter developing, so now all of a sudden I get two birds with one stone. And I'll tell you why. Because not only is this my chipping club in the winter and my pitching club in the winter, how about if I go hit this full swings with this, because this is a 9-iron length, go hit full swings with this and train myself to make divots. Even hitting off mats, which this is fine, if you do not hit down a little bit in that mat, you will skull it or you will blade it. So if you hit off mats in the winter, this is a perfect training tool. You have a little bit of carpet, perfect training tool. Tight lies, even better on the range. This is the perfect training tool. In fact, I teach juniors, some juniors. In this club, I make them hit this club more than any other club in their bag because it works on a perfect grip. It works on them hitting down. And every time I give them a lesson, maybe 1 week and the next week, I go check and make sure this club's still dirty. I want to make sure they're wearing this club out, okay? This club will train you with a perfect grip in hitting down what you got to do on a chip. What you got to do. Because if you don't have a good grip, you toe it down and you're swinging up on a chip, okay? We've broken all the principles of solidness of impact or solidness of ball striking. We've got to hit down and through it. That's what this club does for you, okay? So guys, again, You send in a video to a coach, they'll look at it immediately. And if they sit there and you're supposed to finish in this position here and you're finishing like that, they're going to tell you right now, you've cast a club, you flipped it, and they're going to look at you and say, I can get you 20 yards with your driver. I can get you 10 more yards with your hybrids. I can get you higher ball flight with your 7 irons, your 8 irons. And they're going to go, well, how can you say that when I'm watching it chip? Because they're going to get you driving through that impact, compressing that ball between the club face and the ground. That compression, rolling up that face, now creates spin and lift in the ball. And that's what this club actually trains you to do. Okay? Let's go to the next principle. Become a good putter. Okay? Under 30 putts per round. So think about it right now. There's basically 7 principles of golf improvement. We'll add an 8th on. We have in the past. But one of them all by itself is becoming a good putter. Why is that? Because it's almost 50% of your scoring. Okay? And now, the most common fault in putting, and there's no doubt about it, is when you get up over a putt and you're setting up over this putt, you have got to get that ball underneath your eye line. So when you're setting up over a putt and you're going to pull the trigger, that ball has to be underneath your eye line. And I'll tell you right now, when I go to schools, a majority of our students do not have the ball underneath their eye line. Even though they've heard that fundamental 1,000 times, they don't. And guys, let me tell you why that is so critical. Because here's number one. We're trying to keep this putter square as long as possible. If it's underneath your eye line, if you're standing on the inside, you're going to arc the putter. Arc the putter, you just lost consistency. 100%. It can be open, it can be closed at impact. You get underneath the eye line, you got a much better, a much higher probability of getting that thing square and longer down the line. Number two is, and this is the biggie, when you read it from behind, you're seeing a line to the hole. When you get up over it, if my eyes are over that ball, I can see that same line looking down it. If my eyes are in the inside, I'm going to make an adjustment to what I'm looking at right now, which is not the line down the ball line. So you will adjust the head improperly of the putter because you're standing inside the ball looking at a different line. Okay? It's real simple. So eyes over the ball. Eyes over the ball. And here's the issue. Most of you guys aren't going to go over there inside and practice putting and do this every single time. You're just not. So put a mirror down. I don't care if it's the Excalibur. I don't care if it's the H3 mirror, the Excalibur. Do it. I mean, it's funny. Even last night, we had our AAI conversation, our Alert Attitude and Indifference mental game class, or master class. And a gentleman in there said, it's really, we're talking about pressure and pressure situations. And we're talking about how to manage pressure and deal with pressure and competition. And there's a lot of fun in there. And this gentleman came in there and goes, I'll tell you what I do is I just throw the Excalibur down, try to make X amount in a row. And he goes, it's awesome because it's hard. Number one, it's really hard. I mean, trust me, taking an Excalibur and working down an Excalibur is tough. Okay? He's not trying to make X amount in a row. And he goes, it puts pressure on me. It makes me work through that pressure situation. I'm trying to build confidence on him. It's everything. That's what this is all about. And you gamify it. Okay? But that's what we're going to, so telling you right now, the most common fault we see is not having the ball underneath the eye line. Okay? Yeah, guys, there's a lot of fundamentals, but again, this is the most common one. Single Plane Academy members out there, send in videos of the coach of you putting. I don't care if it's on a carpet, I don't care if it's inside, whatever it is. Send it in. Let our coach analyze it. Let our coach review it. Okay? He'll give you the major thing you need to work on right now. Okay? Next 7 principles of golf improvement. Acquire or adjust your clubs to fit the game. Single plane fit, knowing your equipment. Okay? Guys, we talked about equipment earlier. It's real simple here. Fill out the club fitting form. If you haven't done that, I'm not even sure why you're even really talking to us anymore about this, because I'm not saying get new clubs, just what you got. But if you haven't matched the clubs to the model you're working on, every piece of equipment you're out there when you play, there's an excuse in that piece of equipment. And I refuse to accept that in my game. If there's a problem with the swing or a problem with the shot, I don't want it to be that equipment's fault. I want it to be my fault. I can fix me. That equipment, I got to do what? Okay? So fill out the club fitting form, send it in to me, and open up a line of communication of what you need to get in your bag for length, lie angle, shaft flex, grip size. All that is critical to be able to have a good swing of ease, a good single plane swing. Okay? Fill out that form and send it in. So really, if you just did 2 things for me, because you've never done this before, you fill out the STEPS survey, the STEPS questionnaire, and you fill out the club fitting form. Guys, these aren't autoresponders that come back to you. We analyze this, we look it over, we send back very specific information to you and say, okay, I'd suggest you do this and that and this, and we just open up a line of communication. You can do what you want then. It's totally up to you what you want to do. We don't pressure on any of that. We just open up a line of communication with you all to help you get to this next level, okay? And help you get there faster. All right. So next 7 principles. Learn how to practice efficiently. Okay. Learn how to practice efficiently. Basically what that is saying is that, and I said it earlier in the webinar, that 90% of golfers are inefficient practicers. They either get better, they don't get any better, or they make themselves worse. So you've got to figure out how to get yourself in that 10% group. And I'll give you some specific information right now that'll help you with that. Some just highlighted points. Here's number 1. You can never and you never will break a bad habit. The human brain, the human body is incapable of breaking a bad habit. What you have to do is create a new habit that is stronger than your old habit, and it will override your old habit. So it's just, you create a new habit, you do it again and again and again until the new habit, you do it again and again until the old habit just disappeared. Doesn't exist anymore. Okay? And if your brain says, I got to break that habit, it won't happen. You say, I want to do this. So let's say you had that single plane position trainer. And let's say you sent in the video to the coach of you, the single plane position trainer, and you did this. Okay? That's your bad habit. You're not moving your hips and shoulders properly. So I'm going to think about one thing and one thing only. Position 0 to position 1, is that against my pivot point every single time? In that spot every single time. It didn't move up, it didn't move down, it didn't rock across my chest. It's there every single time. And I'm going to do that slowly, I'm going to do it efficiently. So number 1 is you cannot break a habit. You got to create a new habit. Number 2, and this is a saying in this company, and we've said this forever, and I promise you, any of you come to school and see us in person, you can say, look at any one of my instructors and say this, say, the slower you do it, and my instructor will respond, the faster you'll get it. It's literally an underlying motto of this company. So when you are training, do it slow. If you think you're doing it slow, cut it in half again. So don't just go 0 to 1, 0 to 1, literally 0 to 1. Do it again, 0 to 1. It is amazing how many guys think they'll do something slow, then they're going to do it slow forever. No, you're not. But when you do it slow, it gives you enough time for your brain to comprehend what's going on, to get good feeling, and to put those together. So all of a sudden, we got conscious thought put together with feeling that will basically eventually become unconscious thought that you do naturally. But unless you do it slow, you'll never get it. Okay? I promise you won't. It'll slow down the process dramatically. The third thing is you have got to hyper-focus and know exactly what you're working on. Don't guess. You've got to take the guesswork out of this. Because I'll tell you right now, you can, and this isn't just for single plane, go take any professional out there, any teaching pro that's taught for a while, that's a good teacher, and go on and say, what's the difference between a person that gets better and a person that doesn't get better? And they'll say they both practice a lot. Okay? I promise you, every one of the teaching pros will say this. Number 1, the one that doesn't get better or takes a lot longer to get better doesn't know how to practice and doesn't know what they're working on. That's what they'll say. They're just guessing. Well, you guys have got a model. I hope you're matching this model and you're spending time watching me tonight. You've got a model to follow. And we're going to sit there and say the closer we can get to Mo Norman, the better we'll be. Almost no golfer in this world can do that. Who else matches a model? Well, we do. We saw what we consider the greatest ball striker of all time, not just us, but most people. And we said, we want to copy that. Well, guess what? We can now put you on the left, put Mo on the right, and say, look, it's not quite matching up. You're taking that club a little bit too far inside. Your grip's a little bit stronger than Mo's. Let's try to match it up. We can tell you exactly where to hyper-focus. And that is critical. So right now, if you're sitting at home and you're sitting and go, I know exactly what to work on, awesome. If you're sitting there saying, I don't know if it's my grip or my setup or my takeaway or I just know I come over top of it. Well, why do you come over top of it? It's amazing when I sit there and talk to somebody for the first time and say, what's your swing phone? They say, I come over top of it. I cast the club. Well, why do you cast the club? Do you not move your hips in the backswing? Do you have your hands out in front of you? Are you steep? Is your grip strong? Why are you casting the club? You don't just naturally cast the club. We cast the club for a reason, okay? You need to know what those specific points are. That's learning how to practice efficiently. You do it slow, You realize you're creating new habits. You hyper-focus on those. You guys follow me? And you give it time. You're not going to fix something overnight. It's going to take some time. And that's the beauty of doing things over the winter. We have some time. Okay? You know, the old saying, it takes 21 days of working on something every single day to create a new habit where it becomes a subconscious movement. So it's very true. But guys, we can do this. It's not doing it for hours and hours and hours a day. It's doing it for a little bit of time each day and then going on. Okay? And that's critical. But the beauty of this is as you break this down, which is kind of interesting, I can go work on a habit in the long game. I can go work on a habit in the short game. I can go do something on my putting. You can actually start doing some different ones. Now, I'll be honest with you. You guys are going to find out real quick they're related. You have a real strong grip in your full swing, you'll have a strong grip in that wedge. You have you're taking that club inside with that wedge and towing it down, you're doing the same thing in your full swing. Let's be honest. But you can start breaking it down those different areas and say, okay, I'm going to go focus on this today and this afternoon and this tomorrow. You can do that. And that can even advance your improvement even more. Let's go to the next 7 principle. Okay? Learn to play in the course using your developed skills, course management. Okay? Hey guys, the real thing about this, and obviously this is getting on the course and doing it. The real thing about this is that when you get on the golf course, I'm not going to say you get nervous, but your mind starts going a ton of different places, okay? And it needs to focus on the course itself, and you're using the skills you develop in your practice on that course. It's just like last night, and we had this topic that was brought up last night. If I looked at you guys right now and said, the only way you'll play good golf is you treat it as a reactionary sport, could you guys at home say, yes, I play golf as a reactionary sport? What do you mean? What do I mean by that? Okay, well, I go on the golf course, say I get over top a shot, and I say, I got to look at the yardage of the hole, and I've got 155 yards of this hole, and the pin's a little tucked a little bit in the right side of that green, okay? It's towards the back of the green. I'm hitting into a 20-mile-an-hour wind, so I got wind in my face, and I'm sitting in the rough, so the ball's going to fly a little bit. It's going to come out a little bit hot, but I'm going into that wind, okay? So I'm all of a sudden doing all these calculations or all this thought in my head. I'm reacting to where I am right now in the shot I'm about to hit. Well, guess what? Maybe I take one more club because of the wind, but I'll take 2 more clubs because I'm going to take just a little bit of fly out of the rough. Maybe I realize I want to land this short of the hole. I don't want to go long to the green. Whatever it is. But the point is you're reacting to what's in front of you. Well, when you can do that, you can actually play good golf. If you walk out on the golf course and say, is my grip good? Am I hitting position 1? Am I on play on the top of my swing? You'll never play good golf. Not the golf that you have potential to play. Okay? Because number 1, you'll get in your own way, as Mo said a lot. Number 2 is you've lost the game. You're not reacting to what's going on there. You're reacting to the swing. You're reacting to yourself. The course is beating you from the word go because you're not able to react to it. Okay? So you've got to develop a game, short game, long game, that when you get out, that's good enough that when you get out there, you can be reactionary to the golf course. Yeah. Now, let's say we're not hitting our driver well today. Or let's say we've got some issues going on. Sure, we're going to go practice that afterwards. We're always trying to get better. Even Tiger Woods is trying to get better. I mean, the best players in the world are trying to get better. Okay? But when you're on the golf course, you got to play it as reactionary. And I'll be honest with you guys, that's a lot of what we do in our mental game schools. That's what we talk about. And you guys, the members out there, you guys can review some of that work we've done in the past. You guys can review some of the workshops we've done in the past and so on and this. But, and hopefully a lot of you guys in the AAI Masterclass, that's what this is all about, is how to help you when you get on that golf course, get over those nerves, to manage the game better. To about, we had a conversation last night about leaving hope and expectations in the trunk. The last thing you want to do when you walk in from that trunk to that first tee is going, man, I hope I'm doing this. I expect to do that. No. You got what you got. Now let's go manage this golf course and give it our best of our ability. Anyway, that's the principle there, is learn to play on the course using your developed skills. Course management, okay? The next 7 principle is learn how to think, okay? And if you notice on this is highlighted, and I bring this up about learn how to think because it's not only how to learn how to think on the golf course, which everybody thinks that, it's also learn how to think when you're practicing. Because just what I just talked about there, how many of you guys can actually go out and do a practice session, whether it's indoor or outdoor, and focus on one thing and one thing only? Question, it's a thing I throw at you guys, but I'll tell you right now, it's difficult. But that's something you've got to be able to train yourself to do. Because when you can do that, you can start making changes and very dramatic changes, okay? So not only is it about learn how to think on the course, it's learn how to think when you're practicing, okay? You know, one of the things we bring up, and I'll give you guys a challenge here. This is kind of interesting. It kind of puts the last two together to learn how to think in the course management. We talk about pre-shot routine. We talk about pre-shot routine a lot. You know, we talk about the red zone, green zone. So when you're over top of a shot, so, you know, you set up, let's say I have a shot go in this direction here. I get behind the shot. You know, we all have a little bit different things we're doing behind the ball, but I'm basically right now in the red zone. I'm doing the work, the calculations of the hole, figuring out, you know, the yardage. I'm doing the stuff in the hole. Okay. Now I go from red zone to green zone. So I walk from red zone to green zone. Green zone's over top of the golf ball. So now this is go zone, green zone. So I get over the ball. What am I thinking about to go over top of the golf ball? Okay. You know, what's the proper thought of the ball? Now I pull the trigger and I hit it. Okay. Here's the challenge for you guys. You have a pre-shot routine. You should have a pre-shot routine for every shot you hit. Pre-shot routine when you get over top of the tee ball. A pre-shot routine when you get over top of an iron. A pre-shot routine when you get over top of a chip. A pre-shot routine when you get over top of a putt. Every one requires a pre-shot routine. They're not going to be the same. You may have a pre-shot routine of a putt where you get behind and you take a couple practice strokes, you get up over the ball and you hit it. And you're behind a driver, you don't practice swing. I mean, pre-shot routines are different, but there is a pre-shot routine. The next time you go on the golf course, here's what I want you to do. See how many shots in a row you actually do your pre-shot routine. It's a challenge for you. So you get in that first hole, you got your driver in your hands, you do your pre-shot routine, you hit the shot. I don't care how you hit it. That's one. I did a pre-shot routine, there's one. Now you get over your second shot, you do your pre-shot routine, you get and you hit it, there's two. Get over your third shot, maybe it's a chip, maybe it's a putt, do your pre-shot routine, okay, that's three. See how many you do in a row. I promise you right now, for the average golfer, by the second or third hole, it's gone. You'll hit a shot like, oh crap, I forgot that pre-shot routine. Well, guess what? Advantage me if I'm out there doing a pre-shot routine every single time and I stay within that game. Advantage me over advantage you. That's what I'm talking about here. This is part of the mental game. This is part of being able to take the game to the golf course and be efficient and effective, giving yourself the best chance when you're out there. We talk a lot about this, guys, okay? This is what our coaches are all about. This is why we talk. We love to get you guys working on your game really, really, really hard over the winter, working on those fundamentals, working on those techniques, creating those new habits over the winter. Then we get out in the spring and we start getting the golf course a bunch, so we can work on that. And we can start analyzing that and figure out what's going on and really dramatically helping you guys by improving things like your pre-shot routine. We even have what's called a post-shot routine. I'm not going to get into that tonight, but what do you guys think about when the shot is over? Okay? But guys, so there's a lot of stuff we can help you analyze that. But guys, you need to learn how to think or the mental game on the golf course and when you're practicing. That's huge. That's one of our 7 principles. All right, we got the next one. All right, and the bonus one, flexibility and exercise. That's what we call it, the 8th principle, okay? And you guys, and all the Single Plane Academy members out there, I hope you guys are watching our videos at home. We're getting those bi-weekly videos that go out. So that we do 2 a week now. They come out Tuesday and Thursday. If they don't come out, I go after Tristan and Clayton. So Clayton's behind the camera right now shaking his head. For the last 6 weeks, I believe, I've had at least one flexibility and exercise video that's gone out. And there's more that I know. I've got 3 or 4 more in the can. We've done from hip flexibility to glute flexibility to shoulder flexibility. We've done a lot of flexibility work. I will tell you guys right now, you need to figure out what you're the weakest at right now, what needs the most work on, and start working on that over the winter, okay? Is it the hip and shoulder separation? Is it wrist flexibility? Is it glute flexibility? What right now is your weakest? Now, Single Plane Academy members, you can watch those videos and send out every week. You can figure out that way. Non-Single Plane Academy members, go get the Flexibility and Exercise DVD. Go get our Flex and X DVD. It has them all on there. They're all compiled on there. Single Plane Academy members, you want to jump ahead, going on demand, the Flex and X is on there. Go in there and look at that. Those are 8 tests of the primary focus of the body. So what I did is I Titleist Performance Institute. I'm trained and certified through them. I went and took all their information, or majority of their information, and I said, how does that relate to the single plane swing? I then said, okay, they said when you go to impact, there should be a 50 to 60 degree separation between your hips and your shoulders. Guys, we only need 15 to 20 for the single plane swing, okay? There was things that they stressed that we didn't need, and a couple of things we needed that they didn't, okay? I put it all together for the single plane swing. So it talks about how much you need to flex your arm going back. It talks about how much you need to flex your wrist. It talks about how much you need to be able to, how tight and how much you need to flex with the glutes, different things like that. Go in there, and the way it's set up is take the test. Can you pass the test or not? If you can't pass the test, you need to do some flexibility work so you can hit those positions. Because let me give you a little secret. This is what you guys will do. If you're not flexible enough to hit a particular position, you will try anyway. And then when you have the try anyway, here's what happens. Injury and frustration. And this is why a lot of you guys came to us in the first place, because of injury and frustration, because you tried anyway, okay? Because right now, if your hips are not flexible enough to get a certain position in the backswing, okay, it's going to put stress on your back. You put stress in your back and you still try to get there anyway, it's going to cause injury and eventually frustration, okay, or vice versa. So flexibility and exercise, massive. And guys, there's no doubt about it. That's something you should focus on all year round, but over the winter, it's hyper-focused over the winter. We have time to do it, okay? Plus, it'll just make you feel better. There's nothing better going on the golf course and being loose and feeling good out there. You guys, I'll give you one right now. Guys, we need wrist flexibility. This is how we create leverage. So when we come down to impact, we're creating leverage with our wrist. If we can't create flexibility with the wrist, if I can't go back at least 60 to 65 degrees on this position, I don't have enough flexibility. So if I go up here and I'm trying to get my wrist back, it's not pushing the elbow out, it's sitting the wrist straight up in the air at 90 degrees, I should be able to get my wrist back 60 to 65 degrees, okay? Well, if I can't do that, when I go to the top of the swing, I'm going to lack flexibility, which lacks now cocking and hinging of the trail wrist, and it actually puts the wrong hinge in the lead wrist. Well, guess what happens now? I'm either going to come over it or I'm going to cast it, and I'm going to significantly lose distance, and I'm not going to get the club on plane. No doubt about it. I can't create leverage, okay? So here's what we're going to do. Praying hands position, real simple. Guys, this isn't difficult rocket science stuff. Put your hands together. Put them up in front of you like praying hands. Now, drop them down. And try to go as far, some of you guys won't be able to get past here. It's okay. Go as far down as you can, keeping the palms together. Go down and go down and go down as far as you can. That's my limit right there. And now I feel it in my shoulders, I feel my elbows, I feel it in my forearms, and obviously I feel my wrist. And I go back up. It's the praying hands position, and do it again. I can go up and down if you want. Guys, it's okay. You can do that if you want to go down with the praying hands and the other direction of the praying hands, is fine. If you go inside with the praying hands, it does a little bit more rotator cuff work, which is good too. But guys, think about it. You're driving to the golf course today or to the range to go practice, or maybe you're going to go work out inside tonight and go hit some, work in the mat inside, and you're sitting at a stoplight on the way home, and you're sitting there for a minute just looking at the stoplight. How about this little praying hands position? Get those wrists warmed up. Because I do this in the car in the first couple holes every time I play rounds of golf, because that just helps me and gets those wrists going. That's what I'm talking about flexibility and exercise. Not difficult. It's just helping you get into positions that allow you to do all those other principles we just talked about. It'll help you develop a repeatable swing of ease. It'll help you with your short game. It'll help you with those positions if you have the right flexibility. All right. So guys, you saw how this went through tonight. So then we got a little time for Q&A, just a couple minutes. Okay, we got a couple. You guys saw how we went through this tonight. I mean, and yes, that was very general. And it was very general because I don't have a video of you here saying, hey, oh man, your 0 to 1's really good. Your 1 to 2, well, we got some issues there. I don't have that video. So I can't stress enough. You want to get this going fast? Get one of my coaches to watch you guys. We do it by video. And it's so easy now. Okay? These guys have become, it is crazy, the electronics, the way we can do things now. It's crazy the systems we have set up now to help you guys. It's very, very easy, okay? Let us do that for you guys, okay? Because again, those were general principles. Those were just general. Those were our 7 principles, basically 8 principles of golf improvement. Yes, that was the main issues of each one, but that right there was, now let us help you specifically. So the reminder again is, then we're going to get through a couple questions. Number 1, do the STEPS survey, the STEPS questionnaire. Do it. Get it in. Okay? Because I'm going to tell you what's going to be embarrassing is when you email me sometime and you're asking me a question, whatever it is, it's fine. I want you to. And I pull up in the database and I look and you've never filled out the STEPS survey. It's the first thing that goes to my mind. Yeah. So they're going to ask me a question, but they won't fill out the survey. Really? So they won't let me know where they are, what they've done, or where we can help them with. And we do it every time. And trust me, every one of my coaches looks at it too. Number 2, if you haven't done the club fitting club fitting form, or you haven't done one recently, fill it out. That comes straight to me. I will get back to you guys personally, okay? All right. If you have any questions on that, timg@graysgolf.com, timg@graysgolf.com. Now, before we get into the questions, because I want to remind you of this, short game impact trainer was in stock. We were out of stock for months and months and months. It's in stock now. You guys can get this for $40 off tonight. It was $89. Yeah, that's the special for tonight. Okay, so $89 is normally $129. You get this for $89. Guys, chipping, pitching, full swings, inside, outside, wear this thing out. It will help you make it difference. You want to get the number one thing right now, just working inside to help you get distance and more consistency and more solidness of impact, go chip and hit with this thing. Go pitch, hit full swings with this swing. I'm telling you, wear this thing out. Wear it out. It's great to hit off mats. It's great to hit off of tight lies. It's great to hit off normal shots. Wear this thing out. It's $89 tonight. It's for this webinar special, $40 off. All right, question number one. From position 2 to 3, does the body move arms and hands to position 3, or is it a combo of the upper body move and arms moving hands to position 3? Brian, okay? So Brian, and I'll grab this club here. Okay, so we got position 0, position 1, position 2. When we get to position 2, what's starting the downswing is the lead knee and the hips are starting the downswing prior, believe it or not, prior to the completion of the backswing. So as we're getting just the top of the swing, the lower body, the hips and the knees are starting the movement forward, starting the transition. That's how we get, believe it or not, and when I say believe it or not, that's how we get the hips in ahead of the shoulders. Because think about it, if the shoulders are still slightly turning back and the hips are going, that's how we start getting even more separation. So now from position 2 to position 3, the body, the lower body moves first, the hips and the knees. So I'm always said my lead knee starts the swing and they get ahead of the shoulders between 15 and 20 degrees. And now the arms and the hands follow the shoulders down to impact. Okay. So if you guys want to know, it's called the kinematic sequence. So the sequence is this: knee first, hips second, shoulders third, arms fourth, hands fifth. And it's in that position. Now, you want to get into more detail, more depth, which we won't tonight. Believe it or not, as you transition to a position, that will start, this will not, that will stop, this will now start, and so on. So there's a starting and stopping also in the process. But understand from 2 to 3, the hip and the shoulder, the hip and the knee go first. Because when you're not flexible enough or you don't understand this, they go together, the swing is over the top every single time. So just to sit in that position and start getting that hip and knee going before the hands go is critical. And all the Single Plan Academy members, watch the hip and shoulder separation drill I did with you guys in that weekly video. That is massive. That will get you to hit that position better than you can imagine because it'll allow the body to get in that position. This is a perfect example of so many people can't get there because they don't have that flexibility, okay? Review that video I sent out. Review it, and do that. If you only did one exercise, do that exercise, which is a hip and shoulder separation exercise, okay? So the next question. All right. How do we get the flexibility drills DVD? Thomas, it's on demand, right? On demand. It's on demand. You guys, they're all on demand. Like you can buy it individually, but for buying it individually, you probably can get a month or two worth of on demand. So it's, what's that? It's $100, yeah. So guys, the flexibility and exercise DVD, which is critical. It needs to be what you're going over. You guys will see when you start going through that, you'll see how critical this stuff is. And it's literally like the magic bullet. It's amazing how many guys will push this off, and all of a sudden a couple of years later, they go through it and then give me an email or give me a call and they go, you gotta be kidding me. I've never been able to hit that position. All of a sudden I just got it overnight because what? Because became a little bit more flexible, just a little bit. Guys, you're not gonna become Gumby. We know that. You're not gonna become so flexible. No, but if you just get a little bit more flexible, it allows the body to hit those positions easier. And then eventually with more speed and so on, okay? And obviously prevent injury. It's on demand. It's on there, and go on demand, look at it, and you guys can chapter through it like we have it set up and on demand. Okay. Next question. If you do not currently take a dividend, how can you train to start taking one? Right here, John. Right here. Short game impact trader. Because you guys all want to hit something. I can sit there and say, work on hitting down, working that flex lead knee, which is all part of it. Work on getting the knee sit down, work on sitting down. And yes, you will do that. But I'll tell you right now, you want some really serious conscious work, take this club and do it. Because right now, if you don't hit down, you're going to blade and you're going to thin it, and your body's going to figure out how to start hitting down on it. And when your body, and trust me, you don't hit down on it by lifting your leg up. Nobody hits down on it by lifting your leg up. I sit there and say hit down, and all of a sudden, you're taking the club, but you hit thin, and you hit thin, and you hit thin, and you hit thin, okay? And all of a sudden you go start hitting down in this thing. You're going to look down and go, wow, I just flexed my knee to hit down. You'll do it naturally. Here's the second thing. This is what most people do. And this is why this was created. Okay? It's because the first thing most people do when they do this, they start doing with a normal club, they start hitting down, is they rotate their hands really strong and start hitting down. It's just a natural thing people do. And now you start towing it down and start fattening it when you hit down, and your body won't want to hit a second one like that because it didn't feel good, and you fatted it because your grip got strong. And I will have to tell you guys right now, nobody goes out there, checks their grip every single time, and then hits a chip or a pitch or a full swing, and then checks their grip every time and does it. No, they don't. You guys chip and you chip and you chip and you chip. Well, when you do it with this club right here, okay, with this one right here, it makes you keep a good grip on it. Guys, I warm up with this club every time I play. Now, I can go in my car right now, pull it in my bag, and it'll be in there and it's dirty. Every single time I play, I warm up with this club. I love this club. It is. And here's the deal. Do it or don't do it. I mean, it's up to you. I don't care if you hit this thing or not. But I'll tell you right now, every one of you wants a shortcut out there. It's what you guys want. You want to create a divot? Hit this freaking club for a while. And it's a great club to hit off mats because the hardest thing to do is hit off mats with this club. Tell you right now, I flip or cast this thing, I blade it every single time off a mat. Every time. You can't get it off the ground because of the negative loft in the bottom. I have to hit down to hit that up. And my camera guys can test. The first one, what? Bladed into the thing. The second one, where? Guys went up, right? I can take a normal club and cast it a little bit and still get lift on it. This one you can't. This one makes you hit down and through it, which we're trying to do. And when you do that, that's the compression that a lot of you guys have never felt. That's what Mo called the feeling of greatness, that compression of impact. Okay? Next question. On a chip, how much hip movement is there in the backswing? Great question, Keith. Number one, there is hip motion on the chip. There is. You never, so I'm going to go down the line here. You do not keep your hips square on a chip. There is motion. The amount of motion is dictated by how long the chip is, how hard you need to hit it. So if I had a short little easy chip, I may only take it back a few inches, but the hips are moving. If I have a longer chip, I may take it further back, the hips are going to move a lot more. Here's the issue, and I see this all the time. If you take a chip and you don't move your hips, the club goes back inside the hips and shoulders, and now you come across and you shank it or dead block it. Okay? Because, guys, that club's coming inside the path now because the hips haven't moved. How are you going to get back to it? Well, as you try to get back to it, we roll over top of it. Now we push the shoulder out. Okay, I'm going to show you guys this. And I'll just give you an example of this. This is what our coaches look for. When I sit up over this chip, there is a relationship from the distance from my shoulder to that golf ball. So when I go back to create some speed, this shoulder and the hip better be turning, and now I can go back to impact, and that same relationship occurs. It just now occurs with some speed. That distance from the shoulder to the ball is now the same as when it started, and it occurs with some speed. Okay, that's why I take it back so to create a little bit of speed. But here's the problem. If I don't move my hip, it limits my shoulder turn. So what I naturally do is now I take my hands in. Well, when I took my hands in, did the shoulder move? No. It stayed basically in the same spot. Well, now when I try to create force, I go at it. Well, guess what? That shoulder just went towards the golf ball. It didn't drop down. It went towards the golf ball. Well, that distance from my shoulder to the ball shortened. When that shortened, my club hit towards the heel. So now I'm either going to pull it because it hits to the inside of the heel, or I'm going to shank it because I didn't move my hips properly. Okay? Because I didn't move my hips at all. So when you look at, you guys give her chips and they shank them, they give her pitches and they shank them, the majority of the time it's because they're not moving their hips properly and their shoulder pushes in towards the ball. They're shorting the distance, they shank it, or it'll be a dead pull. Okay? So that's what happens. So great question, but absolutely the hips move. They move the more as the shot gets longer. Okay. I have a left hip problem. How much pressure on the hip? How much pressure on the hip with a flex knee? Well, I mean, the hips, the situation when you make impact here. So when I go to impact, I feel the pressure here. I don't feel it on my hip. I don't feel it really much in my knee. I feel it on my thigh. So when I go to impact, I feel it on my thigh, okay? Now, it has to do a little bit with proper rotation of the lead foot and so on. Now, the biggest issue I'm dealing with in this situation is that I don't know what you mean by left hip problem, okay? Now, also understand when I go from the top of the swing down, the hips are shifting up. So they're tilting up, okay? So as I go down, notice my hips, and you can watch this. Watch the bottom of my shirt here. You can see that. You got a nice black versus khaki here in the bottom. So I set up here. There's a slight tilt as I set up. When I make impact, look at the tilt now. And I'll show you that tilt there. See, it increased because this hip dropped, this hip raised into that lead knee. So this hip's dropping towards that lead toe. That's what's allowing my shoulder to go down and under through impact. Well, if you have a hip problem that doesn't let you drop, okay, or let it shift, you may be turning to create that. But that shift is from going into that flex lead knee. And a majority of our students have the issue of hitting that flex lead knee. Guys, and I'll tell you this right now, if you do not hit into a flex lead knee and you don't do it well, you're not going to learn it in a full swing. You better start going and chipping. Start chipping small chips. Sit here with a training club and sit here and just do this. And look down and may not have flex lead knee or my hand's leading. So watch this. Watch my shirt again here. So I set up on this chip. Look at that tilt. Same tilt. There it is. Flex lead knee. There's that tilt. Because here's what a majority of golfers do. They pull that leg straight out. They come right over top of it. And guess what I just did? I shortened the distance from my shoulder to that ball. I pull across it. I shank it. So they go, boom, they get across it. Whereas we're trying to go into flex lead knee, keep our club down the path. Because, and we'll end it here. Maybe we got another question, but watch my club head. I go into flex lead knee, that's straight down the line. So if I take a yardstick here, and this is the principles of the single plane right here, folks. Can't be any simpler. I sit up over this, I go into flex lead knee, where's that club? It's right down that line. That club is past my shoulder and is still down that line. Now, I do like most golfers do, and I come in here, where'd that club go? That club is a foot inside that line. So you tell me where consistency is versus where inconsistency is. Guys, ready? Mo Norman, somebody who can't break 100. That's what it is. We're training you to keep that club down the line as long as possible. You have to do it by hitting to a flex lead knee, going down, that allows the shoulder to drop and hands down the line. Okay? So then we got another question? Lots of rain and muddy fairways in New England and Monterey and San Francisco, and beginning of season. Is it okay to pitch with ball position at couple of inches back to hit balls first, remove? Yeah, it is. Now, so in other words, what you're saying, and guys, honestly, and I talked about this in one of my weekly videos. I talked about hitting off really, really, really tight lies. Like when you get that dead dormant Bermuda and it's sitting down, I mean, like it's like sitting on a pool top table, but it's dormant grass underneath it. To sit there and chip and back up that ball an inch in the stance, I'm not talking 2 or 3 inches, but an inch in that stance, yeah, it'll create a little sharper angle of attack down and it will make you hit that ball first. It's not a bad thing. Understand when you do that, you typically hit them a little bit thin, which is okay. Better than hitting it fat off the wet or the thin, that type of stuff. Get them a little bit thin, and or you might, obviously you can hit a little bit lower, okay, because you're obviously de-lofting the club. But to back it up an inch, 2 is quite a bit, but backing up an inch, because an inch is a lot. In the stance, to do that, absolutely, because that'll let you hit that ball first. A little bit thinner shot, typically. It's still going to be a good shot, and a little bit lower shot, but still a good shot. Yeah, definitely can do that. All right, are we good? Last one. Is this going to be a biggie here? Wow. Is visualizing throwing a frisbee good for filling leg and proper sequencing? As a left-handed golfer who is a right-handed, skipping a rock does not apply to me. As a left-handed, okay. And the frisbee move seems to be very close to proper movement into knee with delayed hands, arms. I mean, is the frisbee the left hand, right hand? Here's the deal. I guess I could take a throw hole. Here's what's interesting. Guys, and then we'll end it here. Kinematic sequence, which I just described, and guys, get into our material and start sharing our information. You're going to hear all about this stuff 1,000 times over. But the kinematic sequence is just a sequence that goes from the lead knee to the hip to the shoulders, arms, hands. So it's a sequencing motion to get basically the hands into a position to hit the golf ball. But here's the interesting thing. If I took a ball right now and I threw it like a pitcher, I'm also doing the same thing. I'm going into a flex lead knee. My hips are getting ahead of my shoulders. My shoulders are following my hips. My arm is lagging behind my shoulders. My hands release at the end. there's a kinematic sequence of throwing a ball. In fact, the kinematic sequence was first developed for throwing before it was for golf. There's a kinematic sequence when you hit a baseball. Baseball players do the same thing. They set up over the baseball and their hips get way ahead of their shoulders and they make impact with the baseball. Can you imagine if a baseball player did the hips and shoulders together? They never get a ball past second base. They load and they sit up and they load and their hips are so far ahead of their shoulders. There's a kinematic sequence. There's a kinematic sequence of skipping a rock. So as we sit there and we skip a rock, we go, what? We're going to skip that rock. We're not going to sit here and go, oh, there's the rock skip. We're going to go right in the leaning skip. That's what we're feeling, that underhand toss and that sequence. So if you're saying throwing a frisbee or throwing a frisbee, yeah, I mean, you're going to say there's a sequence to it. So it's an athletic move that you're trying to create speed by getting something on plane, okay? And the plane may be up here, maybe down there, maybe up here. I mean, there's different planes, but we're still talking about the kinematic sequence. So yeah, so saying throwing a frisbee, skipping a rock. Now, the thing about skipping the rock is we're trying to feel a little bit of release through that hand like you're skipping a rock. You don't really release a frisbee the same way, but the kinematic sequence, sure. I mean, you would never say, if I'm going to throw a frisbee hard, I'm going to do this with the frisbee. I'm not going to pull out of the frisbee doing that. It would be flying over to the left, okay? So, but guys, understand, it's an athletic movement that we're trying to generate speed with the body. We're just trying to make sure that movement's on plane for as long as possible, or the single plane, so we can become more efficient and more consistent in what we do, okay? So is that it for the questions tonight? All right. So, guys, again, remember real quick on the announcements. Announcement number one, if you guys want that short game impact trainer, I will tell you right now, you get that, you work with that, I promise you one thing. Number one, it's going to dramatically help your chipping. I mean, how bad is that? Number two, if you don't make a divot, you take minimal divot, it will get you to start making divots. I promise you it will. Because that's why I work with it on my juniors. That's why. I mean, they don't make divots. I'm going to get them to make divots with this thing. That's what I do, okay? My ladies, every lady I work with, they don't like divots. They just don't. I get that trainer in their hand. They love it, okay? It makes you taking divots. It'll get you some speed, get you distance. It'll get you that spin. That'll be incredible, okay? So that's not, you can get that thing $40 off, is special. Fill out the STEPS survey. Fill out the STEPS questionnaire. One of my incredible coaches will contact you and just talk about what you should be doing next. They're just going to help you. I don't care if you're a member or not a member. Fill it out and get it in, okay? Don't be that guy that's out there doesn't have it. Then you send us an email a couple months from now saying, I want to do this, and we look and there's nothing there. Fill it out. At least get it on file for you, okay? If you haven't had your clubs customized, or if you haven't fit your clubs or haven't done it recently, do that for me. Get the club fitting for me, and there's a link to it too, okay? I will personally contact you on that, okay? Schools, remember, members, tomorrow, the schedule's going to be out. They're going to go fast. And that's no joke. They're going to go fast. The public, they're going to be out about 10 days. So be looking for that. It's going to be the May schedule. I think we have Orlando, Phoenix, Oklahoma City on there. We got some spots on there, okay? And then the last thing, the Paradigm driver and the Rogue X. All I want to tell you right now is anybody who wants Paradigm or wants to talk about it, email me. We'll have a lot of conversations coming up. But if you're looking for the Rogue and you want the end of the year specials, which are the best specials there are out there right now, get me now. And the trade values are still high if you're trading something in towards it, okay? Anything else good? We good, guys? All right. Well, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. And we will see you guys next month. I'll hopefully see you guys for the workshop at the end of the month. Hopefully see you guys in the 10% show coming up in a couple of weeks. But guys, at worst case scenario, we'll see you guys next month, the next Plane Talk. We'll talk to you real soon.